Aloha. Today I wanted to do a video in reference to specifically relationships, in reference to our relationships to nature, the earth plane, the idea of religion, each other, personal, individual relationships, spiritual relationships, and the design of the separation program, how it has manifested into this animalistic consciousness that is pretty much at the root structure of the separation program that we understand. And this is including a lot of the so-called forward thinkers, the consciousness community, the new age community, the so-called awakened people, all this stuff that we label ourselves with. Once we remove all the labels and kind of lay everything out and see how the design of our existence is, then we can see that we do have a meaning and we have a purpose that far surpasses any kind of basic understandings or basic concepts that get passed down. Mostly this video is in reference to these old religious programs that are still playing in the hearts and minds of the so-called awakened beings that actually add to the limitation factor. I just wanted to share my perspective on it because it might help somebody see or feel something however way, but this is just how I see it. Being that I'm not in a relationship right now with anybody else, a woman that I find to be my balance. It's different being by yourself in so many ways, because we are communicable beings. We are we heavily, a large part of our existence is based upon how we relate with other beings, how we communicate, how we react, respond, grow, and understand ourselves through other people. Now that's one version of reality. You can see like the monks and people are heavily into their spiritual practices have another relationship. So these are these layers I wanted to get into, the layers of relationships to spirit from the internal space, that also when you bring it back to the physical material world reality where we are interacting and reproducing with our divine balance for this experience, it's a different world completely than what we have been raised to believe in. So you can understand how the Bible goes against all kinds of relationships. Like it makes you act and think a certain way. Like it demonizes masturbation, it demonizes premarital sex, it demonizes and this goes for any kind of religious or whatever kind of construct that exists. When I expand it out to the control factor, the control grid, and understanding that it's not just about the globe model. It's not just about CERN and these scientists and how that affects our consciousness, like the Mandela effect and our memories, like everything. The more you are in tune to yourself, the more you are in tune to your relationships, the more you are in tune to your surroundings, your culture, your history, your ancestors, your guides, your angels, your spirit, the soul, the Most High. The more you are attuned into these frequencies, the more all of those frequencies will be affected for the better. And that is the expansion of consciousness. The linear idea of woke or awake or all that other stuff, that's a linear concept. That's you formalizing yourself. It's putting yourself in a box. It largely has a limitation factor to where you say, oh, well, this is it. That's basically what it is. It's saying this is it. I've done what I need to do. It separates you. It says, well, you are this group of people, and those are those groups of people. It also limits you from understanding or venturing out into looking into different ideas or different things that are a part of your reality that you might not have understood. Being it that we are constantly growing, constantly in a growth pattern. One of the big things is relationships. And one of the big things, it's obvious when you see all of the factors that are amplified within the religious communities, all of the religions, how, this is why I'm making this video right now, how much of a focus that union between beings is an important factor to separate, to control, basically, to expand the separation program through control. On the other hand, you see the gay agenda and the LGBT agenda as used as a separation concept for control on so many levels. You can go into the reproductive factor, you can go into the separation from the natural and the indoctrination into the normal, and what is being told to you through the mainstream, through the Greco-Roman idea of civilization. That is the normalization program, which is inherently a separation from nature. On a spiritual level, this is not about the laws and the Constitution and all this other stuff and whatever laws are passed by what is today. This goes into the spiritual roots of who and what we are on a human natural scale. See, this purely sexual and the sexual focus of the mainstream agenda, everything is sexualized, to demonize, to beat down, to keep locked away the divine feminine. That is to cut the control measures in half. If you see, like I said in previous videos, and many other people have said this too, sexism came before racism. For control. If you want to control the masses, the chess game of controlling the entire society, civilizations, you have to divide and conquer. One obvious way to divide and split the power grid that is inherent within the masses, the collective relationship, is to split it the most obvious way. And so you build up the masculine, the patriarchal system, the patriarchal, that program, and you demonize the curves, the divine feminine. So you build up the linear program, and you demonize the curved program, or the color, the magic, the artistic perspectives of reality. You demonize all of that, and you build it. And then once that program is running on its own through the people and how they interact, then what you do is you go into the more divisive observations that exist, which are the cultural differences that has now manifested into the racial divides. So they split you and call you black and call you white and call you African American and call you Asian American and call you Mexican American and call you Irish American. Whatever it is, you are not directly connected to your essence. You are living in a box that has been created to you exist in a box that was created to control and limit your understandings of yourself. Ultimately, this is what religion does. Ultimately, this is what all of the programs that are being played through society, including the globe model, it's to water everything down, to tell you that it's for you. So they put global warming out there to sell the globe agenda, to sell a protector, a savior agenda, also to make you the bad guy and hide the fact that these corporations are actually the infrastructure of this stuff adding up, just as easily as mindsets add up to police officers shooting black people on the streets. This goes all the way back to the Aboriginal Australians, the African colonization. Every colonial program is adding up and being played. Every single movie is being played in the same moment. So your separation from your spirit that exists, that separation that exists collectively, exists individually in these police officers who are doing this stuff. The separation in relationships. People have fucked up relationships. I know police officers have jacked up relationships because of their schedules, the shit that they gotta deal with. So their actual personal lives are jacked up. Even soldiers, like that's how I know police officers are jacked up, is because soldiers in the military are gone for so many months or whatever, or sometimes years, and then even the work schedule, the design, the program itself, it is inherently destructive and self-destructive. So the police officers have this outlet on purpose to go and act out what they have been programmed to do on every single layer. Historically, through generations, now they have the okay, they have the permission to act that out and the protection from the state to do this stuff. So this is our relationship to ourselves, our relationship to our significant others, our whatever, everything. Nature, everything is a relationship. And if you separate those relationships, demonize those relationships, then you can install the program. So whatever program that you want, because people are distracted and they're empty. Basically, that's what it is. It's creating an emptiness. So if the human design inhabits consciousness, experiences and expresses consciousness in every moment in its existence, its very existence, through the divine masculine and the divine feminine experience, that is however many layers and levels outside, vibratorily, frequency speaking, outside of the animalistic behavior, then there's a meaning and a purpose there. And if you empty out or water down that meaning and purpose, then you are de-evolving that manifestation. This is what the evolution program does when they tell you that you come from monkeys. This is what the Big Bang Theory and the globe model does when they tell you that you're a cosmic mistake. You're just a piece of shit that came out of a Big Bang that manifested through dinosaurs and monkeys to your smartphone technology today. It completely erases your purpose and your meaning. That will affect your relationships because now you will have animalistic relationships. The proof of that is that animals have sex to reproduce. That's what they do. They have sex to reproduce. There are some, like dolphins have sex for fun and all kinds of other stuff. But dolphins also have bigger brains and other kinds of relationships with nature in this earth plane than we can even understand right now. But just getting off the point. My main point is that there's a difference between the human experience and the animal experience. The human experience in relation to sex and reproduction has a layer of divine union that animals don't have. When you understand that most animals are just reproduce, they have sex to reproduce. There is a relationship, a cosmic spiritual relationship that happens in love, as soul groups, as soul individuals meeting other souls and having that cosmic union. It's so much deeper than like sex with somebody that you are spiritually connected with. Is a deeper relationship that exists and outside of the frequency, completely outside of the frequency of the basic animalistic reproductive program that gets pumped out as the normalization program. This is what we are being separated from. This is why the divine feminine is being so beat down. This is why pornography gets pushed so much into the mainstream system. It's like these big booming industries based upon the sexualization of the human design, period. It takes away from the connections. That's what it is. It's a separation overall. It's fine-tuning the separation program through the maximum connective programs that we exist as. So when you have individuals walking around seeing with eyes that are not their own, as opposed to seeing through the eye of their soul, that's a different relationship. You expand that to, that's an individual. See that as an individual space. Now expand that to a collective space and see what that does to the entire collective consciousness grid of the human experience. This is what the mainstream media does on purpose to lock down this separation program. When they create these, this plays right into the whole Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. They build up these relationships, build up these storylines for you to believe in, for you to pay your energy into, for you to reflect and look for in your relationships. This is what these television shows are all about. To reproduce, so they're reproducing consciousness. And that consciousness that gets produced on the frequency of television, music, the education system, it will reproduce the consciousness inherently, subconsciously through the masses. So just like the random number generators reflected some kind of response when 9/11 hit, same thing happens when looking at the details, the minute structures over time, everything mattering, especially when you understand that like the trending factor, the energetic trending factor that is trending in quotations, that gets pumped out there. Like trending is a layer of consciousness that has an intention there. That intention is not for the benefit of the empowerment of the human experience. It's for you to be controlled. This includes obviously the political program, the university system, the mainstream media, your music industry, the Hollywood program. Every single thing that gets pumped out for you to be so-called entertained is actually for you to be dumbed down and watered down and programmed. So this includes also the religious programming. It's barely alive, so that you will not even understand what it means to raise your consciousness, do your soul work, reconnect with spirit and the Most High to expand outside of what we understand is normal. See, before we can get to the cosmic spaces, and this is what the New Age program is about, there's a code that you have to follow through yourself, from your roots. Before you can grow fruit on the trees, you have to lock your roots into something real. That realness is you, your soul essence. But how complex our consciousness is, we can create, we're constantly understanding ourselves as real. Like I'm the real person, or real you're. There's layers within that space. So back to what I was saying before, as far as like the codes. So the New Age program. The New Age program is to get you focused on your higher chakras, your higher space, so they can install, the so-called they can install the new system based upon the stars, the alien agenda, the CERN programming, manipulate the Mandela effect, which on so many layers is directly locked into your conscious collective connections. So CERN is out there to subvert that energy and then suck it into the normalization program. So the New Age agenda is to take your crown chakra and your third eye and install it into sub-layers of consciousness. This is what all these channelers are about. This is what all this secret space program stuff it is. It wants to physicalize, add density to your maximum potential. And since it's different than what you've been normally eating for your entire experience, and it feels real, then you make it real, because that's it. But on the most artificial, the synthetic version of the New Age program, you can realize that has no roots. It demonizes and separates itself from the essence of the human experience. It has no connection with the root chakra. Largely, this is why you have a lot of the so-called New Age communities talk about this free sex and all this, just live life. And this goes back to what I initially wanted to speak about. I'll get there in a second. This whole like it's all about this, just love and light. And then they install the program of just fucking everybody, and then having all kind of these like love children, and we are the twin flames and we created a baby flame, and this whole thing is just, it's another version of religion, another version of control. It's another version of emptiness. So back to the codes, what I was saying is that before you can produce any fruits on your tree of life, you have to be rooted in nature. The normalization program is obviously based upon separating you from those roots. This is what the commercialization of the colonial program is based upon. This is what the demonizing of the indigenous cultures is, the demonizing of your ancestors, the installation of the globe model, separating you from your your understanding of a creator, the creative intelligence, the worshiping of the destructive intelligence through the love and light factor by acting like destruction or the balances of nature do not exist. That is an amplification of the separation program. This is why I come down so hard on the love and light. It's because if you're all about love and light, then you are all about out of balanceness. That is not what Ma'at is really about. That is not what nature is really about. You have to have a balance. If you are acting like these balances of this experience do not exist, then you are creating another, instead of having the colonial program, the mainstream media, you're basically creating a mainstream media for yourself, calling it new, calling it the new age program, calling it, oh, this is all. No, you are still heavily based upon it's like a sublayer, and since we've been soaked, since we've been emptied out from so much, any kind of positive information, any kind of positive connections that we feel we've been locked into the negative design, the negative structure. So any kind of positive anything is going to be accepted as the reality. This is what the expansion of the New Age program, this is why you have Oprah with her network and that Super Soul Sunday shit, having Deepak Chopra and all these other people who are telling you information that resonates, that has a resonance. But it's like I said in the last video, it's not about what these people or what these programs are saying, it's how they are saying it. And it's also where they are rooted. Where are they rooted as far as the constant expansion of consciousness, or are they rooted in some kind of program, a limitation program? Or obviously Oprah is locked into the ancient aliens, locked into History Channel, Oprah locked into Monsanto and the money, the fiat currency, the slave all of this is a slave programming. All of this shit. Down to religion. The extension of the religious programming is the television and the internet, social media itself. Ancient aliens installing these new versions of your history, telling you that you have no ancestral gold. You are only the result of an alien science. That's what Ancient Aliens is based upon. That's what the CERN program is based upon. Setting the foundation to science the shit out of human existence. And this shit plays all the way down into your relationships, down to the falling in love program I mentioned in videos before that. It's more complex than that. It's part of something, but when you are only telling part of the story, then that will set up, like Oprah and all them, the New Age community itself. When they only tell part of the story, they're actually telling an expansion of the control story or the separation program story. It doesn't have any roots. And So that's why you can just eat the fruit. So you just keep eating fruit. Eat fruit. That's why the sacral chakra is all about when it gets out of balance in the New Age program. It's just about fucking, just just have sex. Just be free, be open. It's not about constricting. It's this total opposite of religion, thinking that's it. But that's not it. There's a balance. So this is what I'm saying. My main point of this video, in understanding that we are outside of the animalistic reality. We exist outside of the animalistic relationship. There is a purpose and a meaning to the human design that is far more complex than animals having sex to reproduce. Religion and all that other shit, you can see. It's just like, get married, have your babies, die, have your kids, get married, and have their babies, and then they die. And it's just another reproductive program instead of an animalistic, just like living in the fields or whatever as animals. Then you're just living in the cities, which are the fields, and animals is the same thing. The city is the animalistic behavior. People killing each other. And then you have the business version of that where people just step on everybody. It's an intellectual animal. That's what the normalization program is based upon. All of that still exists inside of a version of reality that is not at all our maximum potential. So, I can't keep getting sidetracked from my main point. Religion is based upon contraction, separation, limitation. You have the extreme people of, oh no, you cannot ever have sex. It's all dirty. It's all this. It's all that. Understanding that for them not understanding the like the Kundalini energy, the spiritual connection, the relationships that happen on the etheric planes through a sexual relationship, a sexual connection in that moment. You have the extremes of no sex, it's just dirty. And then you have the extremes of everybody should be just free to fuck everybody and just have sex all the time, which is just another animalistic version of it, another animalistic behavior. So you have that extreme, and then you have the open extreme and the closed extreme. That's basically what it is. The open extreme and the closed extreme. As we exist as the balance points in everything. So we have to find that balance, whatever that balance is, because there's an essence, there's a purpose in like the extreme of the contraction space, of the closed space, like understanding religion. There's a beauty to having a relationship with your one partner on that spiritual plane, to have that. There's an essence there that exists. The extreme to that is like the religion, the marriage programs, the dirtiness and all that stuff that gets locked into these books. But there's a balance, there's a beauty to not watering yourself down, your energy, your relationships, by just falling into the animalistic behaviors or the completely open behaviors of spreading yourself thin to everything, having however many partners in that whole world. The New Age world flies really in and out of that space. Pretty deep. And this is how I'm thinking that this New Age agenda is going to sell the Tomorrowland or whatever. And we can already understand that technology, artificial intelligence, the transhumanism program, the artificial intelligence, these robots, these sex robots that are out there, that's basically what you turn into. And that's what's happening within the pornography industry, is making individuals sex robots when they're consumed by a particular version of reality and not really connecting with the spiritual understandings or relationships as a whole, not really going into the depths of connecting with individuals, but consumed by a version of connection that is not in the depths of spiritual connections. So there's that balance between the openness and the closedness that we find individually, that we exist as, that is constantly shifting. We are growing out of the contraction program. And like I said in other videos, if they can't sell you with destruction, they will sell you with the idea of creation. Or if they can't sell you with fear, they'll sell you with love. This is what the New Age program is all about. So this is all making more and more sense as I'm piecing it together, visualizing, seeing how the artificial intelligence locked into the transhumanism movement is going, how the New Age community acts with itself, how it's being promoted through the mainstream, how even the political scene is getting involved with the separation from normal and natural spaces, with the whole LGBT stuff. That it's about the separation program. I'm not speaking about individuals or anything wrong with individuals. What I'm saying is that on a natural scale, when you go into the roots, there is a difference between what is normal and what is natural. When you go into the understanding of history, the understanding of Rome and Greek history in relation to what was natural and normal in ancient Kemet, they're completely different. Same goes for the Maya, the Inca, and the Aztecs, and all of the other indigenous storylines, completely different from the Greco-Roman understanding of civilization and what is normal. What is normal in the Greco-Roman civilization is the normalization program of today. And that inherently is the separation program from that which is natural. So when we have this idea of twin flames and all this other stuff, a lot of people are still seeing those perspectives from a root structure that is still heavily based in the normalization program, still based in the animalistic tendencies. Obviously, if you're like basing everything on marriage or even love, like it's not just about love. That's such a generic term when you understand the depths of the human experience. This is why it's so promoted on television commercials, in your music, in the movies. I just watched Ferris Bueller the other day, and even in that movie, it's obvious. Like, he asked Sloane to marry him, and then at the end of the movie, she's like, "Oh, he's gonna marry me. I'm gonna marry him." That whole thing, what that does to kids, like what that does to the mentality, it already created. This is what the Hollywood system is based upon. So you just jump into that program, and you think that your love is based upon, whatever, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids talking about marriage on a serious kick. That sets these artificial anchors, which are these artificial roots. And this is what the New Age community is based upon. You think you got some little inkling of consciousness or spirit or connection to the soul, and then think, oh, because you fell in love, that's the end all be all. Like, no, there's more growth that needs to be done. Speaking from my own experience of being in that space, when I supposedly fell in love for the last time, I was in that time frame of myself expanding in the heart chakra. That's what that was. And I was externalizing my relationship with myself on the observation of the relationship, or the observation of my relationship with that individual. And when you do that, you're not really, that's what the falling in love program is. Because you can understand that somebody can fall in love with somebody else, but that person won't necessarily have that same feeling for you. And that's one version of seeing it. Another version of seeing it is that different people that are at different realities have different soul journeys. They have different things that they're working on, different energy patterns that they're working on. But the generic commercial grade Valentine's Day, Christmas, New Year's marriage program is all based upon jumping off of that feeling of falling in love. So for me personally, when I was in that space, externalizing my love for myself, that's what was actually happening. I was opening up, and I was allowed to open up because that reflection, she was there to help me expand that space and see that there is more to this relationship with myself and the potential relationship with another being that is on a deeper layer of root structure. But since I was still the person that I was at that time, and still had work to do, you can only perceive your reality from the eyes that you have in that moment. And if your eyes are constantly in an awakening process, this is why I come down so hard on people that are talking about, oh, I'm awake. I'm like more than awake than you. Like, I'm the most woke motherfucker out there. So you can't tell me shit. And it's like, I talk about this, and you're only talking about that. So you're only this much awake. I'm this much awake. It's like, man, you better shut the fuck up with all and get the fuck out of my face with all that nonsense. Everything, every person, every particle of energy that exists right here in this moment has a balance on the creative space that is beyond any comparison, period, end of fucking story. And as we understand consciousness and through our experience expanding in every single moment, in every single thought, it is ridiculous to even call yourself awake or woke or compare yourself to anybody else. It makes no fucking sense whatsoever. This is what the New Age community is based upon, and that whole everything, all that's another extension of the separation program. It's no different than King George saying that he has the authority from God to lynch 2,000 people. It's the same shit, just in a different suit. People acting that shit out individually on a regular basis, calling themselves woke and all this other shit. Yes, I understand the program, the process of awakening and getting out of the self-destructive program and understanding how things work within this storyline. But when you expand it even further than that, it's more complex than that. And it's way more connected than that labeling as ridiculous limitation structure you call whatever you want to call it. So back to the relationship. When you are healing your root chakra and your sacral chakra, and you are finding your essence in your willpower and your soul journey in your solar plexus. You are understanding who and what you are on this physical journey. The program is to get you caught up in the sacral structure, or like a lot of people talk about, like you a lot of people are working on their family, like they're working their family work, like how they grew up as kids with their mother and father. They're working on their family work so that when they have relationships. So that's root chakra relationships. People do that, and it's not like one. It's not like confined. Everybody's doing this in some kind of way with the mixture. I'm just expanding it to share like how it's all mixed in. The sacral relationships are where they get manipulated from the sexual programming of, oh, well, this person looks like this, or this is everything that I ever wanted. Never going into the depths of the soul or the soul journey or anything like that. These are heavily artificial, basic-ass relationships that are just generic as fuck. You know, they were like, oh, you guys look, you're the cutest couple. That's like the sweetest, whatever. They have no fucking essence connection beyond the cutest couple, that whole shit. That's the flipped upside down and backwards version of the sacral relationship that gets manipulated by the mainstream media and the entire colonial program as a whole, the separation program. When you get into your solar plexus space, that is you turning on the you that your soul is, your fire essence. When you do that work, you are setting the root structure for your heart chakra. If you do your family work and you understand that you're not here to do, some people are here to do that family work in there and have a root chakra relationship. Other people are here to have a sacral chakra relationship. But once you get into the fire, the essence of your soul, you are working on the relationship with yourself. That is when you can set the foundation to open up to a cosmic relationship with an individual that transcends the animalistic behaviors of the normalization program. That is your fire meeting the fire of another individual to create a soul fire that exists in the infinite bridge of the heart space, the actual heart chakra space. So we confuse these because of what's so prevalent in our observable reality, and this is so new for us. Like, it was so new for me to experience anything like that at that time. In seeing it now, it was me opening up, because when you're locked into those lower spaces, you are having a constricted, a boxed relationship, and you're actually inviting. This is what falling in. You're falling in love, falling into somebody else's box, and then you are falling in, and then they are falling into your box. So when we are falling into each other's boxes, there's a difference between that kind of relationship to heal those boxes and expand out of those boxes, or just become comfortable within those boxes. That's the difference. That's what happens. That's what's normal. What happens is that people get comfortable because our basic human needs take up the majority of our days. And then we're just like, all right, we're just going to get through this. I have this feeling of love, and we're going to grow, and we just got to take care of our shit. And that's like the regular relationship. That's kind of fucked up, but that's normal. And it totally negates the entire, it's a cosmic relationship on training wheels. That's what it is. A cosmic relationship on training wheels. The physical reality, the lower chakras. So like when I was in my space, I've always been on my own. Like, I never really had like an extended relationships for whatever reasons in those moments. But from my personal reasons, because I'm constantly expanding and knowing that there's more to myself. I don't want to be involved in a relationship. I don't want to have a woman involved in a relationship with me if I don't know who the fuck I am and what I need to be doing or what I want as far as a relationship. So I want to know who I am first on that space, on that spiritual essence, that soul plane, before I open up to the soul plane relationship with whoever. And then the same goes for her. When she's open up to that space, then you'll know on a deeper layer of knowingness. This is the difference between falling in love and rising in love. The old program of going into somebody else's box and having them fall into your box, that's the falling in love program, the physical lower body chakras. When you are rising in love, it is when two individuals who have already manifested their own soul fire meet and expand and rise in that love. So you can start at whatever space you like, but there's a knowingness and a connection that is different. Not saying that it'll be all perfect and all this, but I'm just using this as an example as to what we are separated from on the mainstream, on the normalization separation program. This goes all the way back to your connection with the earth plane. Excuse me. If you are just told that you are in a globe model reality, it's an automatic generic separation, just like the divide and conquer between men and women from the beginning. The demonization of sexism, creating women, saying women are all dirty and that whole thing, and then creating the racism, like same thing. Black people are dirty, they come from monkeys and all that other shit. All that propaganda that was put out, that shit, and that was like commercialized, making cigarettes and toys out of racism. This is what this whole program is based upon. But all that stuff exists in the separation from your relationship to nature, your relationship to who you are, what you are, and your maximum potential. So that's what I wanted to share in this video, is to kind of just take a moment and start out by talking about relationships, talking about how much we've been separated, talk about the differences between the animalistic reality and the human experience. There's more to who we are. What's normal, what's pawned off as normal in our reality is to tell you that it's all about reproduction. Just get married, have some kids, have a nice fucking day. Oh, glorify, you did it. Great. You're beautiful. That's such a beautiful baby. You can make a baby by a fucking mistake. That happens on a regular basis. People are making babies. There's no fucking glorification. The difference between that, there's a difference between just making a baby and then taking care of a baby, raising a child. That's not at all part of the normal program. In fact, it's part of the separation. This is why families are being so destroyed. This is why the Aboriginal American male is being destroyed and separated from the family structure. This whole program. Everything is connected. It's just not the Aboriginal and indigenous program. I use that example because it's the most obvious. So-called black families are being destroyed systematically. The opposite version of that is to create this new age, holier than thou sort of relationship or understanding of existence and all this. It's very complex. But when you get the ball rolling on in your true essence, then it's very basic. It's very simple. Like, to get out of the program, it's a complex algorithm because we've been subject to it for so long. But when you are running your soul essence program, if you want to call it that, it's very simple. So like I said, in like my relationship, when I was opening up to myself, it was externalized on that individual because she was there helping me see more of myself. See, we aren't allowed to see more of ourselves because we are too focused on the external versions of reality. And then we get into those boxes. So that's the difference. That's pretty much, I think I pretty much hit on everything that I wanted to emphasize. The emphasis of this video, really, I wanted to focus on the difference between the human potential, the human meaning and purpose, and the reality, the natural program, the consciousness expansion that happens within a sexual relationship or a spiritual relationship, whatever it may be. It is totally different from the animalistic behaviors that are called normal in this monkey mind evolution program that is telling you that you came from a cosmic mistake and the university system as a whole. This is another way to look at our relationship to nature and our relationships to each other. It's deeper. We have a meaning and a purpose that we're still unwrapping right now. We're still trying to figure it out. It's deeper than that. This is another layer, another bridge. So, yeah. That's it. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.